I love this so much.
You are listening to the We Are Not Safe for Work podcast. Your hosts, Renee and Nadja, will dive into all the different reasons why some entrepreneurs become unemployable.
Hi, Nadja.
Hey, Renee.
I hope that people watch this show 100% just to hear that intro.
I know,
You know?
right? It's so much
Yeah.
fun.
I love it so much. You did
I do
so
too.
good on that. And Nadja put all of that together, and it's just incredible. I love it so
Oh,
much.
thanks.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I had fun looking for it, and I may have put it together, but you and I chose it together.
oh,
So,
sure. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, that's totally true. But I just had ideas, which is pretty much true with everything on the show. I come to Nadja with constant ideas, and then she makes it all work out. And
Because
that's how it
that's what I
goes.
love to do.
I know. And I love it too, but you're like 100 times better at that than me. I'm still just, and listen, everybody, I live in Texas, as does Nadja, and allergies are a total bitch.
Oh
So
my
I'm so
gosh.
sorry. Oh my God,
Yes.
my eyes just won't stop running. Um, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
and speaking of allergies, so we thought that's what was going on with our kids. And I
uh-huh,
mean, maybe one of them, it's still just
uh-huh.
allergies. Like our older one, our 13, sorry, she's 13. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Our
Such
13
mistakes.
year old, ugh, blasphemy that I got her age wrong. Um, she's had a lot of like sniffling and a little bit of coughing, but I think it's just because of the drainage. It's irritating her throat. And again, I think it's because allergies. We had a
Hmm.
snowpocalypse like last week, and
That's
then
right.
today,
That's right.
today it's like 70 degrees. So we went from what? The teens, so like 16, 17 degrees last week, and then
Yeah.
this week we're in the 70s. Like that's insane.
Oh, it's
Um,
ridiculous. Yeah, that's why we're such a mess.
I know.
So
But
God bless
our
her.
other kid is sick right now, so she's trying to fight off a fever. Um, but I think it's just an ear infection, or at least that's what I'm hoping.
You think it's an ear infection? So if it's an ear infection, you'll have to take her to the doctor, right?
Yes, if it's an ear infection, then it can at least be treated by antibiotics,
Yeah,
which is
she's got two.
yeah. By the way, there's the link to the YouTube. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I was like the YouTube thing. Okay, that is super distracting. Do you guys see my light? My light is like flickering again. I know I had this
I don't
problem
even
last time.
notice. I don't even notice. I'm gonna share this to Facebook.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I did tell my husband about it because he's the one that set up my lights, and he was saying something like he knew immediately. He was like, "Oh, I bet it's the blah 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 blah. It's a little finicky." And I'm like, "I don't know what that is."
what does that man know about lights?
I apparently just a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for those that don't know, my husband is a lighting designer
Yeah, it's only
for
a
like
professional gig for him.
concerts and stuff like that and
Yeah,
festivals. And I'm
right.
gonna smack the light. How about that?
Okay, you go smack the light.
Hey, it kind of worked.
Hey, it worked? Okay, cool. Or you could do like I just said before we started recording. I unplugged mine. Nope, it's back.
Because after I smacked it, I like touched a button
Ah, okay. Okay, cool.
because that's how I am.
Can't leave it alone, can you, Nadja?
No, I really can't. Sorry, guys. It's all good.
Okay, so what I'm about to say is not about politics, but believe it or not, but I did just
What?
share this. What I'm about to say is not, but I just shared this thing on Facebook, which is this really amazing meme. You should go look at it real quick, Nadja. And I said sums it up, and it is, I'm not going to say the full words. It is holy GD, F, what the effing F.
Holy GDF. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was like, that
Okay.
sums it up. Um,
So
it
now
is,
I'm super curious.
yeah, and that just sums up to me everything take politics and put it to the side,
Uh-huh.
and it basically take it's considered news and put all of that to the side. I feel like just the idea of what's happening with AI. I feel like we're slowly becoming an AI podcast unintentionally. Um,
I mean, sure, yeah.
yeah. Um, did you happen to watch the video that I sent you? First of all, did you find my Facebook?
No, I'm still looking for it.
Oh, here, let me send it to you just to make life easier. I forgot we can send each other links.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah. This is so not really worth the time. But this is gonna make my mom real mad.
Mom.
She hates this word. She hates that I use the F word so much.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So you,
That's awesome.
I know, right? It
I love
just
it.
I love it. I know. I was like, well, I probably won't have to take that down soon.
It's
But
pretty.
it is pretty.
I mean, it's very eye-catching.
I know, I know. I should have just screenshotted it and sent it to you. That would
Yeah,
have been
yeah.
my
No, it's all
best
good. It's
course
all
of
good.
action. Yeah. Instead of sharing that, but
Well, because now I have to like react to it so that it can keep popping up on people's things.
great.
I'm gonna use the laughing emoji. How about that?
That's really good. Yeah.
Wait,
Anyway.
hang on. Tell us how you really feel, Renee.
Oh God.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
Okay. No, no, it's okay. Over the weekend, I think it was on Sunday, I sent you a link to a YouTube video about OpenAI. Did you happen to see that?
I saw your message, but I haven't watched the video.
Oh, okay. Um, just so everybody listening knows, I send Nadja a lot of stuff, but this one I said urgent.
Yeah, I know
Important.
you
Yeah.
did say urgent, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll have to watch it later.
And that doesn't mean I'm not giving her a hard time. It's just I am trying to set the stage for what I'm about to talk about.
Yes.
So when I say this, when I get into this conversation, everybody probably thinks that I'm talking about the China AI, which is a whole conversation worth itself too, by the way.
Mhm.
But no, what I'm actually bringing up is ChatGPT released this thing, I think it was last week ish, just a few days ago,
Okay.
called Operator. Have you heard about Operator yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So Operator is essentially, well, really, now that I say it out loud, this is exactly what it sounds like, is that you can, if you have the right level of ChatGPT, and this will come out to the ChatGPT Plus people soon, but if you're on ChatGPT Pro, you can already do this. And what it
Okay.
does is that it essentially um, runs your computer for you.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm gonna
I
need
know.
more explanation on
I
that, but
know, but
continue.
I'm not. I'm going to set that aside for a second, and it can do things for you. And we're like, oh yeah, of course, AI has been doing things for us for a long time. But this is different. This is once you have set up your login stuff, where your computer, you know how like if you go to let's say Instacart, and you have your username and password saved in your browser, and it auto logs you in. As long
Right,
as
yeah.
that's set up, you can do the following, where you could say, hey, I wrote down, this is how crazy this is. I wrote down a list of my shopping list for the grocery store on a piece of paper, and here's a picture of it. Chat GPT, can you go buy me these groceries?
What?
So imagine that you're sitting in your kitchen, you write down a list of your groceries,
Mm-hmm.
and you tell ChatGPT, hey, here's a picture of my handwriting. As long as you can read it, please go buy these groceries for me. And then it goes to Instacart if that's your choice of shopping.
Okay.
And it shops for all the ingredients, adds the ingredients to the cart, and then it can ask you if you want to review the cart, and then if so, it'll go buy the cart for you. When do you want them delivered? It's like a personal assistant going shopping for you.
Okay. I mean, in theory, like that's fantastic, right? But
Sure,
like
it's incredible. I'm not complaining. I'm just
the
telling you what
warning
happens.
bells are immediately like, okay, but how do we prevent, unauthorized
Oh,
whatever.
sure. And I think they have a lot of guardrails in, by the way. I do. I'm oversimplifying to explain what's going on. Thanks for
Okay.
the thumbs up.
Oh,
Um,
that was me drinking.
yeah, I know. But the interesting thing too, there's a lot of interesting things, so I shouldn't say the interesting thing, but a thing that Andy and I, when we watched it, because I was like, I told Andy, I'm very selective when I ask Andy to watch something because she's not into the same world as I am. As far as, she's like, I'm not spending my time watching a video. That's just not how she consumes. And so I said, come with me, sit down and watch this video. And so we did. And one of the things that we both immediately thought about was it was obvious that it was buying, like if you have eggs, if you want eggs and you go to Instacart and let's say you want to buy your eggs through Instacart at Kroger, or whatever grocery store is in your area, usually there's quite a few different eggs to choose from. But it chooses the first set of eggs. So immediately on Monday at Andy's advertising agency, they were talking about this same thing. And they were like, hey, there's going to be a lot of movement to be the first item in the list for your category. So, like if you're dog food, you want to be the first dog food. If you're the dry dog food, you want to be the first dry dog food in the list because it's going to choose the first one. So it brings up to me, can we teach it what our preferences are in brand? I don't know the answer to that yet, but I think it's an
Okay.
interesting question. Um, so as ChatGPT shops for us or whatever AI of choice shops for us and does tasks for us like that, those are things to consider. Another thing that it did that I thought was particularly interesting, the guy said, "Hey, tonight I want to go out to dinner with my wife at this restaurant. Name a restaurant, right? Whatever." And it
Okay.
says, "Hey, chat, while they're working, on something else, like, hey, can you go set us a dinner reservation tonight at 7 p.m. for my wife and I at restaurant fill in the blank?" And so then they keep working in the background. That's what ChatGPT is doing. And ChatGPT comes back and says, okay, there's no reservation available at 7, but there is one at 7:45. Do you want that?
Okay.
And then you say, yeah, sure. And then it makes that reservation for you. In the demo, it's funny because by the time he said, yeah, sure, ChatGPT went to make the reservation, came back and said, oh, we waited too long. We lost that spot. Do you want a different time?
What? Okay. Okay. That's so interesting.
I know. I know. So those are two examples.
Okay. I guess I'm just having a really hard time wrapping my mind around like how that's possible. Like you said, it's automatically logged you into whatever
Hmm.
you're needing to be logged into complete these tasks. Like if I were to go set a
Hmm.
reservation, I would need to be logged into Google or whatever.
Hmm.
What is it? I don't remember. Reservations.com. Whatever.
Yeah, I think in
Like
this case it was open table, but yeah.
Open table. Yeah. So you need to be already logged into that account. And this is all like on your device, like on your phone. So is it like an AI app
Well,
that's
in the
connected to your phone?
examples they were doing, it was all desktop. But it's interesting that you ask about the phone because I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Um, so here I'm going to send you a link to so you can. Well, here I'm sorry. We should share screen. I'll share my screen.
Okay. Share your screen.
Yeah. Um, what's this? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is the ChatGPT page talking about, okay, so this launched on the 23rd.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. Overview, how operator works. Do you want to like browse that real quick with your eyeballs?
Read with my eyes.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever said.
Okay.
Operator can see through screenshots and interact using all the actions a mouse and keyboard allow, with a browser enabling it to take action on the web without requiring custom API integrations, which I think is an important point.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need custom APIs built to work with OpenTable, for example.
Hmm.
It works through the browser. So if a human can see the button, the ChatGPT can see the button.
Okay.
Um, if it encounters challenges or makes mistakes, operator can leverage its reasoning capabilities to self-correct. Let's not overlook that statement.
Hmm.
Operator can leverage its reasoning capabilities to self-correct. That alone should be like many, many episodes of conversation, but now it's just normal life.
Yeah. Okay. How to use. I have a cat that's playing with its toy and she's being very loud about it.
Oh, really?
It's very distracting.
To get started, simply describe the task you'd like done and operator can handle the rest. Users can choose to take over control of the remote browser at any point. An operator is trained to ask the user to take over for tasks that require login, payment details, or when solving CAPTCHAs. That's interesting.
Hmm. Okay.
And look at this. Operator can run multiple tasks simultaneously by creating new conversations, like ordering a personalized enamel mug on Etsy while ordering a campsite at Hip Camp. I don't know what Hip Camp is, but it sounds fun.
I don't I don't know.
I don't either. But that's interesting because a human can only do one thing at a time. Even if you have an assistant, they
Hmm.
can
Yeah.
only do one thing at a time. But I guess
Right.
this guy can buy us an airline ticket, buy us a custom mug, and order some food at the same time. Great.
Hmm.
Uh, Here are just a few. Now, they're listing some things. They made a real good point, big point of this in the video. They're listing some ideas of places that they use it with, but these are by no means limitations. If your web browser can log into one of these places, you can absolutely any place at all. You're it can do this for you. It's not just
Okay.
limited to the ones here on the screen.
Yeah. So this brings up a lot of questions, like if it has the ability to log into things and then make reservations for you and things like that.
Mhm.
All I'm being not all I'm being reminded about, but what I'm reminded about specifically is the whole Ticketmaster debacle, where they were trying to figure out how to make sure that actual people were able to purchase tickets to,
Yeah, that's an interesting point because like
yeah.
you spent your entire day getting your
It
Taylor
was the
Swift tickets.
whole friggin' day.
So could it have just done that for you?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like,
Yeah.
but again, how do they prevent it from being used for nefarious purposes? Because, that's the whole argument right now with the Ticketmaster debacle is just the fact that scalpers use bots to purchase these tickets so that they can resell them at higher prices to actual people.
How does Ticketmaster make sure that someone's not doing that now? Like,
I
is it
have
a
no idea.
limitation of so many tickets per payment method?
Yeah,
It
like you
seems like
can you can only purchase like each account. So you need to be logged into your account. But again, you can make multiple accounts, right?
right. That's
But you
why I
need
would
to
think
be,
payment method would be the best way.
yeah, and I don't know if that's the case. I know that per account you have a limit on how many tickets you can purchase, but again, if you have 10 accounts, you can purchase 60 tickets. Yeah, yeah, I don't know exactly how they prevent that right now. But obviously, whatever they're doing isn't working because
Right.
the number of people, like actual people that were able to get tickets at face value, I feel like it was not like the scalpers outweighed real people. Because in my circle, in my sphere of influence, I guess, like
Mm-hmm.
in my network, the people that I actually know, um, there weren't very many of us that got face value tickets. Like I was very fortunate that we happened to be one of the ones that got face value tickets
Mm-hmm.
because,
Mm-hmm.
we paid, what was it, like $170 per seat for a really good section. Whereas other people were in the nosebleeds and they paid three times more than we did. They were paying
Mm-hmm.
$400
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for like upper level nosebleeds that you could barely see the people on the stage. So,
Yeah. I would, to me, not ever have put much into this topic of the tickets thing. To me, it seems like this could be really well handled by payment method.
hmm
In other words, one credit card shouldn't be able to buy 100 tickets
right.
without some kind of special approval. Like, like if we had 100 employees that we are not safe for work, we want to take all 100 to them to see Taylor Swift, which of course we would want to do that. We would, probably have to call Ticketmaster and say, hey, let me explain why we're buying 100 tickets.
Right. Yeah.
But to me, that's just my first thought. I have no idea about this thing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember how big of a deal it was when it happened. Um, but I don't know what Ticketmaster does or should do or is doing.
hmm
But I would imagine that OpenAI is trying to consider that, but also is that OpenAI's responsibility or Ticketmaster's responsibility?
Right. Yeah. Again, it comes back to how is this going to be standardized or regulated?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
know everyone's like less regulations, blah blah blah, but I mean there's certain things that you're like, no, we need rules.
Sure.
We
Yeah.
need
I
rules
mean,
that apply to everyone for certain things, and I feel like AI is one of those like Wild West scenarios right now
oh,
where
I think so.
it's
Yeah.
just it's a free for all. Like it's the freaking gold rush, right?
Well, yeah, it really is. And I think this is the video. Oh, well, it's not the video, but this is the screen grab from the video. Oh, it is the video. Yeah. That I watched. Um, I haven't tested this or used it because I don't have the right level of ChatGPT,
hmm
and also I don't feel emotionally prepared.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's interesting because, like, for example, could I train it to post pins on Pinterest for me or schedule pins? I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe.
could you? Yeah.
I don't know. It would really be helpful. Um, or like, could I? Or I'll give you a perfect example today because we just did this huge set of pins for new um these words are going to make no sense to anyone, but a new roundup launch with a new board, and I have 72 new pins. And so we created all the pins in Canva, and this part will be completely relatable. We created all the pins in Canva, and now my assistant has to download all of the pins one at a time and name them to the appropriate file so that we don't lose track of our pinning process.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that he has already spent a full day just on that part where he's downloading and naming the files. Um, and so, some of the admin behind this stuff just takes time.
Yeah.
And what if I could give Chat, we call him Chad. We used to call ChatGPT Sally, and we realized he always responds as a dude. So we renamed Sally to Chad. So
Okay.
I guess my ChatGPT is now trans. I don't know. Um,
Sure. Okay.
yeah, yeah, whatever. Um, anyway, if I could give Chad the Word document and Chad could download all of those files and rename them for my assistant, that would be huge. That act alone would save us so much stupid admin time so that we could each do the things that we, as individuals, me and my assistant, are really
hmm
good at.
Yeah.
And so I could see so many uses for this that I haven't seen covered here right now. We're just talking about shopping and buying things, which maybe
Mhm.
that's all it does. I don't honestly know.
Yeah.
But the way that it can buy things got me curious enough to bring up to this conversation because I thought it particularly interesting that take a picture of my handwritten shopping list and go buy me these things,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
we would totally do with a personal assistant. I've never had a personal assistant, but I can
Mhm.
imagine that I would do that.
Yeah. Well, and so here's my thing though. I already have a kind of a hard time handing things off like that because when you do your grocery order, so I've
Mm-hmm.
done the curbside pickup for HEB.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that are not in Texas, HEB is one of our grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they'll like if there's an item that's out of stock or it's not exactly what
Oh
I had
yeah.
put on there,
Yeah.
like you'll get a message from your shopper saying, "Hey, I can substitute it for this instead or whatever." And then you go back and forth and you say, "No, thanks. Don't worry about it," or just whatever, right? But I have left notes, especially for produce, because my personal experience has been not fantastic when it comes to whoever my shopper is picking produce like I would pick it because we'll get it. So a great example because this happens all the time is whenever we have broccoli on the list, we'll say like two heads of broccoli, right? And then we get the broccoli when we pick up our shopping or whatever, and they're like the smallest heads of broccoli you could possibly find. And it's like, this will barely feed one person. And so now I have to make a note, like whenever we do produce, that says, please make sure it is at least the size of and then a description, like, because I'm like, okay,
That's interesting. Yeah.
do I want to say the size of a cantaloupe or
I would imagine things like that for this to really truly be used. Right now, I think what it is, hey, this is something that can happen. Now, for it to truly be useful, it's going to have to learn our preferences, like you just said.
hmm yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
that would be a true like assistant, which is fantastic. But again, I just have a hard time wrapping my head around something that could make, I mean, not necessarily jump to conclusions, but like, yeah, basically jump to conclusions like a real person would. I don't know.
so I don't
Or make
know
logical assumptions. How about that?
if we were to go back a year ago and see what we were discussing about AI a year ago compared to now. I wonder what it would have been because I'm not keeping track. I almost feel like we need an AI journal at this point. Um,
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, we could do like a timeline of AI.
yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah. Um, because see,
That would
here's
be
the
interesting.
thing. There's all of that I just said and all
Yeah.
the things that we're discussing here. But then also there's what happened, what was it, Friday? Was it Thursday or Friday when DeepSeek was announced? Do you know what I'm talking about with
I
that?
have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, okay. So DeepSeek AI is China's version, I guess. I'm
Oh,
probably going to
oh,
get,
okay.
yeah,
I didn't know that's what it was called, but yeah.
yeah,
All right.
of China's version of ChatGPT, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was on Thursday or Friday that Nvidia stock fell by, it was the largest loss in the stock market ever, and it was like $500 billion. Dollars.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, it was crazy. Um, and the reason for that, apparently, and please tell me everything I get wrong about what I'm about to say, because this is definitely not my area of expertise.
Uh-huh.
Just a blogger about food. Um, but chat, I'm trying to think of more. So OpenAI and the American AI companies are saying that it's going to take a lot of computer chips and a lot of power, like literal electricity, to continue to grow this AI thing that we have going on. So China came out and said, nah, that's not true at all. We just made this incredible thing that's equal to, I think it's equal to ChatGPT 4.0, except maybe even better. And we only made it for like, I know these numbers are not right, but for like $5 million or something. And so then NVIDIA stock just collapsed because NVIDIA is the one making all of the computer chips for the AI software stuff that we're doing here in the US, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
and so they're like, well, do we really need all of this or do we not really need all of this? Because if China can do it so much cheaper, why is it costing America so much money?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Which is a very fair question. And I don't know
Right.
the answers to that. And those numbers that I just said are for ratio, they're not accurate. I'm just trying to get the point across.
Right,
But I
right,
do know
right.
about the $500 billion. That's true.
Yeah.
Um,
Side
but
note, by the way,
yes,
I think it's really interesting that you like the way that you pronounce, you call it NVIDIA, right?
that's what I said. What's it called?
I've always known it as NVIDIA.
Well, you're probably more right than me.
No, I don't know.
I don't either. I
I'm
have no
like, now I
idea.
don't know what's right. But no, it's just interesting. It's like segue, total segue here. When I read books and, like when you read it, you have a way that you pronounce words or names
Oh,
or
yeah.
things like that. And then because what I've been doing is I've been switching between the real book and audiobooks, especially if it's an ebook that has an audiobook connected to it, and then it actually like syncs and it keeps track when I switch between the two. And then I hear the narrator or I hear the person say the word that I'm like, that was
Oh,
not
yeah.
how I was saying that word.
It's funny you say that because when listening to the Leonardo da Vinci book over the holiday
Oh
break,
yeah, yeah.
they called it Renaissance instead of Renaissance.
Yeah.
They called it Renaissance. And so now
Uh-huh.
Andy and I keep laughing that it's like, there's a new Renaissance coming soon.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I remember you kept correcting me when we were talking about it because I
yeah,
kept saying
yeah.
Renaissance and you were like, no, it's Renaissance.
Renaissance. So now apparently NVIDIA has shed almost $600 billion in market cap.
That's a lot. That's a lot
Yeah, I
of
think I think that's a lot of money. That's
yeah.
that's more money than last time I looked at Elon Musk has. Huh,
Gosh.
just saying. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
so and I think that the question is fair, but the interesting thing, by the way, is, and I haven't looked this up, but what I heard when I was listening to some news segments about this whole deep seek thing, and I am having trouble believing this to be true, but also probably so, just cause the world. Um, Apparently they said, well, ChatGPT already knows everything about everything. So why would we spend the money and time to have DeepSeek go freshly learn everything when it could just learn everything from ChatGPT? And so it apparently, and I'm pretty sure that Sam Altman even confirmed this. Hold on. Trained on OpenAI. Yeah. OpenAI says it has evidence China's DeepSeek used this model to train its competitor. So DeepSeek was like, I'm just going to train on ChatGPT to learn everything. And then what I'm going to optimize, which this is the big part that nobody's talking about, what I'm going to optimize as DeepSeek is the reasoning abilities. Because ChatGPT has already learned everything there is to learn in the world. So I don't need to learn again. I'll just learn it all from ChatGPT and move past that and optimize for reasoning, which is the real true pathway to AGI is reasoning. right?
Okay.
Because it's one thing if right now ChatGPT just predicts what the next word is going to be. That's all it
Right.
does. It is really, really good at that. And so that has become incredibly useful. But the real trick here, the next step, I should say, is for it to know why the next word should be the next word,
Okay. Yeah.
right? And that's the reasoning and understanding. So DeepSeek is working on that problem and apparently making headway with that in comparison to we're still just trying to work on predicting the next word and building out data centers and power, uh, what are they called? Power companies? I don't know. To bring electricity to the data center so that we can work on expanding all of that.
Yeah.
Um,
What is this called again? It's called
Deep, DEEP,
no, this
Seek.
one.
Which
Operator.
one?
Operator?
Oh, ChatGPT operator.
Okay.
I sent you a link to it in the Zoom chat.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I had the name correct. So, Chat GPT operator, and this is to rival China's Deep
Deep Seek
Seek
AI.
AI. And okay, so every time you say Deep Seek, you were like Deep Seek, Deep Seek, Deep Seek.
Yeah.
Again, because my brain just, ADHD or whatever, it squirreled off somewhere else. All I could connect it to was in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Um, wait, was it? Yeah, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The supercomputer that was created to answer the question of life, the universe, and
Yeah.
everything. Its name was Deep Thought.
I wonder if that's why they named this Deep Seek.
It may have been an inspiration. Somebody was a Douglas Adams fan,
Maybe. Yeah.
but it's called,
That's
yeah, it was
interesting.
called Deep Thought. And the answer was 42, by the way.
I know. I know. That's funny. By the way, you just brought up something. This made me think of something else. Right now, we're still stuck in the place where we're all discussing and rightfully discussing and arguing over did ChatGPT steal from us to train its model? Okay.
Okay.
So here we are in the midst of that and really reeling as an online community with how to handle that. And that's a whole daily thing in my space that we are not in my space, the website, but in my space, my
Mm,
workspace, that we're all dealing with, trying to figure out, you know, who's taking from who and what does this mean and how
yeah.
do we make money and just all of this stuff. And then China's just like, hey, we're just going to take everything that from ChatGPT. So I find it a little ironic
Yeah.
that ChatGPT is like, oh my God, they stole all of our data. Well, you stole all of our data first.
Right.
So now
Yeah.
China stole your data. So really, China stole my data. Let's be honest.
Right.
Um, and I just think that's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the argument could be made all around that basically that's what everyone's doing, right? Everyone's just
Oh,
stealing each
literally,
other's.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
That's
Verge
all.
just said it best. The
Yeah.
situation is rich with irony. After all, it was OpenAI that made huge leaps with its GPT model by sucking down the entirety of the written web without consent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And
now,
everybody, but every company or everybody has done that, right? Like there's nothing, if you really think about it, what is truly original? Everything is just
nothing.
built
There is no original
upon
thought.
other things. Yeah. And I mean,
I
maybe
mean,
that's an original like path or veering or whatever, but it's all based on something that already exists out there.
with recipes,
Hmm.
the legality of recipes is this: ingredients are not copyright protected in any way. Nothing about ingredients are. So if
Yeah.
I was just, we just shot some photos for a really simple burger recipe idea, hamburger.
Hmm.
Okay. made on plain white bread, just simple, 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 but a little different. Andy had an idea, and here we are.
Yeah.
But the ingredients, we could use the same ingredients as everyone else. It's a matter of how we write the instructions that makes our recipe unique, technically
Right.
speaking. Because there are only so many ways to write a burger recipe. Maybe use
Are
a
there?
quarter, a quarter teaspoon. I'm just making shit up. Don't do this. A quarter teaspoon of pepper and
Hmm.
and a dash of salt, and that's your burger recipe. But maybe
Yeah.
your burger recipe is a 16th of a teaspoon, and a 16th of a teaspoon of salt, and the 16th of a teaspoon of pepper, and you add in a dash of cumin, and that's your burger recipe. Well, now we
Yep.
have two completely different burger recipes, but ultimately, they're still just a fucking burger, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is no original thought anymore. There's
Hmm.
just a matter of how you put your thought together. And that's
Right.
the only thing there is. And
Yeah.
sometimes, so sure, some people have some original ideas based upon things they've read, and this is why reading and consuming helps you think of what we call new ideas, but they're not really new ideas.
Right.
um I mean, yes, occasionally we have a new idea or a new interpretation of something, such as gravity, right?
Hmm.
We're like, hey, I think we'll call this gravity, and this is what I think about it, and my name is, Newton, right? And let's do that.
Yeah.
um yeah,
Well,
there you go.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm very curious as to
I'm gonna give you the
where,
Verge article,
yeah,
or
I'm
the
I'm just really curious as to like where this is all leading. I guess that's what it comes down to, right? Like I always question, okay, where is this going? Like what is this what is the point of whatever it is? What is the end goal, right?
Yeah, I've lost our Zoom.
You lost our Zoom. Oh, you mean on your screen?
It's gone.
Oh, yeah, just look for it. It's totally fine. We're still here. I'm here. And I
Cool.
see on YouTube we are still there. So we're all good to go. But yeah, like I understand that the end goal of this kind of stuff is to, you know, make things more efficient, make things easier, um, or at least on the surface level. That's what it looks
uh
like. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but why? Why are we making things easier and more efficient?
I think I have an answer to that because I've been thinking
Okay.
about that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I have an answer. And I think that the answer is very base human because we can.
Okay. Yeah.
We're explorers by nature, and exploration means many different things, right?
Yeah.
And we do and we try. And if we weren't like that, we wouldn't even have fire.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that this is just humans being humans. Like one of the things that I don't understand about humanity, and I just can't figure it out, is why after your team wins a big championship, do you go out into the town and catch it on fire and riot and have a fit?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, but but to me, this is like we're just building things because we can, and we want to see what happens.
Hmm.
Um, like Dolly the sheep, right? They
Yeah.
stopped the cloning of that, so they say. I don't believe that they did. Andy thinks that they really did. I don't believe that they did. I think they're still cloning shit out there.
Yeah.
But sometimes we stop doing things, but not usually.
Hmm.
And I think it's just human nature. That's what I
Okay.
think. What do you?
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
a very fair uh assumption. You
hmm
know, it, it's because we can.
yeah,
And I never thought about it that way before, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, we sometimes that is the only reason, that's the driving force because you
hmm
can.
hmm
I mean, I guess that
and
could be applied to like everything, right? Life.
I think also work this year is going to be such a disruption year. Um, because of things that we're not, I don't think that most people are even considering yet. I'll give you a
Mhm.
perfect example. Now with ChatGPT, you can't easily tell. So let's say that um, someone in another country that English is not their first language decides to write something in English. So English is not their first language, but they know English, so they don't understand the subtleties of our language. But let's
Okay.
say they want to write an article that maybe summarizes what you and I have talked about here. Okay?
Sure.
And so they understand it, they write it down, but in the past, their version of this would not have passed muster to make it onto like CNN. Okay?
Okay.
Because it wouldn't have the conversational English that we would expect to see on a CNN article. Okay?
Sure. Sure.
But now that person literally wrote it, but it's not good enough. But they could take it to ChatGPT and say, okay, I wrote this article. Can you edit this for me to make it conversational? Now, all
Hmm.
they did was use it as an editor at that point. But
Right.
then by the time it's done with that process, we're not going to know a difference and it would be sufficient to go on CNN. And all they did was use an editing tool.
Hmm. Well, I mean, editing or even translating, because maybe they're able to write really well in their own language, but they don't know how to translate it, or they don't know how well it translates into English. And so,
Right.
yeah, people use ChatGPT to, I have, I have been uh, a, what is it? A target of that because, as some of you know, I do real estate on the side.
Hmm.
And so I get a lot of text messages and phone calls from investors and people who are claiming that they want to, view properties like they're buyers and all this kind of stuff. But I have to do my due diligence as a realtor to make sure that these aren't scams, that they're legitimate. And I have I have been on the receiving end of a couple where they want to talk to me in Tagalog, which is a
Oh,
Filipino
hmm.
dialect, and it's pretty like convincing because I'll be like I can understand it. Like I have a hard time speaking it because I don't practice it very often, but like if they want to speak to me in Tagalog, I'll understand what they're saying and then I can
Hmm.
either respond in English or very broken Taglish.
Is that what it's called? Taglish?
Well, that's, it's like when
Oh,
people say
Taglish. Okay, I understand what you're saying now. I'm
Spanglish.
like that threw me off for a second. I'm with you
Yeah.
now.
No, no, no.
Spanglish. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there have been a couple where like I will suddenly catch like they're running this through some sort of translator
Hmm.
because it does a very literal translation. So,
Hmm.
for example, they had asked like, "I hope you're doing well," or I the Filipino message, the Tagalog message that was sent to me, basically, if I translated it directly, it was like, I hope you're good, but not like, oh, I hope you're well. It was like, I hope you're good at what you do, kind of thing. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
well, who actually says stuff like that? Like
Right.
they so
Right.
they didn't use the like the what did you call it? Like the
Conversational.
conversational, yeah. So it
Yeah.
was a very like literal translation. And then I was like, okay, this isn't a real person, or it is a real person, but they're running it through a translator. And so I was like, hey, I'd like to have a phone conversation with you. When are you available? And then nothing, crickets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even
I
I
think
got suckered into it because I was like, this seems legitimate.
I think by the end of the year, those kind of language barriers will be 100% over. And so work that was purely saved for Americans that used words um, will not be limited to us anymore because those barriers won't be there anymore.
Great.
Yeah.
Still need an editor
Yeah.
in that whatever primary language though, because
Hmm.
again, translations, I don't care how good of a device or AI it is. There's just it's very different from a real person
Today.
reading and translating or whatever it may be. Because I mean, it's the same with the dictation software
Hmm.
for medical professionals. Like some of them are phenomenal because they can understand when you say something like tempo cardia. I don't know, I'm making up words, but you know,
Sure.
like whatever the medical vernacular is, they say these terms that are very common in medicine, but not in conversational language. But it understands what you're saying. It's like, oh yeah, this is what you you mean, and then it translates it, but you still need like a person to review and edit and make sure that, oh, that is actually what the doctor said and not something more common, but then it assumed that it was a, you know, the complicated medical term because that happens a lot. um
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what you're saying, if you're saying what I think you're saying, let's imagine that we are a CNN. The low level writers that are just writing those base articles
mhm.
could be from anywhere,
Yeah.
but the editors at large, the editor in chief would still be
Yep.
there managing it. So, I mean, not all humanity is going away. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying that I think one of the advantages that Americans have had for American content is the conversational nature and I guess I could call it slang that we
Mhm.
use, is unique to us and
Mhm.
our culture, right? Our
Sure.
culture. So I'll give you a perfect example.
Are you
Um,
saying specifically Americans or English speaking?
I'm saying specifically Americans.
Specifically Americans. Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Uh,
that.
yeah, yeah. Well, because every place has their own culture. And
Hmm.
this is what I mean. Um, if you were going to say, what are the best sides for tacos? You're probably not going to say a kale spinach casserole, right?
Ooh, I
But I
like
mean,
kale.
I'm
I
just
like
saying that's
spinach. I'm
not,
intrigued.
yeah. But I mean, I mean, I could keep going
Yeah.
with unusual side dish ideas,
Yep. Yep.
right? Most likely, a kale spinach casserole is really actually a main dish, right? But you're also probably not going to serve as a side dish to tacos mashed potatoes with brown gravy,
Yeah, that's true.
right? And
Hmm.
so there are these things that are difficult to understand unless you're part of the culture.
Right.
Um, because you're like, well, maybe these things are technically side dishes, but you wouldn't serve them with tacos.
Yeah.
And so right now, one of the advantages that American has is they understand our culture. But I think soon AI will also understand our culture and could put together a terrific list of side dish ideas to serve with tacos in the United States. And the
Hmm.
list of what to serve with tacos might be slightly different in Australia, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to
Okay.
explain. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, totally
Okay.
get it. And
Yeah.
that makes sense. I think also it might, I don't know, provide some semblance of comfort to current content creators and copywriters and editors and stuff like that. That, you know, it's not that their jobs will be replaced by AI, it's that
Mhm.
there's a way for them to apply their skills in another way. Like
Well, and I
maybe
think,
AI will take over that specific role, but
sure.
that doesn't mean that their skills are now obsolete. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that's what a lot of people have been nervous about.
I think so too. And I think today something that wasn't with AI but was with my assistant, is a perfect way to think about this. Um, So Will, my assistant, is in the middle of downloading all these images, like I said, and I said, "Hey, listen, I know that he lives in the Philippines, and I
Hmm.
said, hey, I know that I have a faster internet than you. Do you want me to download them all for you and put them into the Google Drive, and then you can, do whatever you need to do next?" And he said,
Yeah.
"No, because when I do this, I do this, 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 and this. I have this whole thing, this whole process,
Right.
and I do all these multiple tasks, and then you would be spending your time doing those tasks that I
Right.
do. And it's not that he's protecting his work, it's the next part about I'm about to say. He said, "You really need to be writing the next articles. And so this is not the best use of your time." So
Yeah.
if you can think about um, what AI could do, what AI is taking away from you is can feel like a real bummer, but also if you had more time, because if we're trying to work for ourselves, time is our biggest challenge.
Right.
So if you could offload some of your workload, what are those other things that you've never been able to get to that would help you grow your business?
Yeah.
And so I think most people are like, "Oh my God, this is the end of blogging." I'm like, this is the beginning of blogging.
Yeah. This is, yeah,
And
absolutely.
blogging, I should say content creation, not just blogging, because it could
Okay.
be
Yeah.
what we're doing here, or it could be a newsletter.
Yeah.
Um, Also, if you're still listening, Naja and I did discuss briefly this weekend our newsletter. We are really trying to figure that whole thing out.
Yes, yes. And Renee has shared a resource that I'm going to dive into because I'm super curious about building our email list. I am one of those people that's really like, um, or recently, I had been really tight and like controlling, and I have a really tight grip over my email address. So I'm very resistant to like releasing my email address in order to sign up for a rewards program or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
my phone number, especially like even more so my phone number. My
Uh-huh.
my email address might be a little bit more
Sure.
flexible. But in the recent weeks, I signed up for so many different like newsletters
I love
because
newsletters.
yeah, because I was like, okay, well, all of this gets drowned out in social media because I follow these people on social media too, thinking, oh, well, if
Yeah.
I follow them, then I'll be able to see their posts and updates in relatively real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I was finding was that wasn't happening. And then when it would come across my feed, it was like 3 or 4 days later. And I'm like, well, now I have old news. And so what's the newest thing? And so I've subscribed to several different newsletters, and I've noticed that most of them are on something called Substack,
Yes.
and a lot of them send daily emails.
I
And
send
even
daily
more
emails.
shocking is I actually like open and skim it.
It's funny you say this because the way I wish, because I send daily emails most days, daily emails for Cooking Chew. I took a little bit of a break at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Um, I tend to have these strategic breaks when I think people are getting overwhelmed
Uh-huh.
with something else. No, like after holiday sales or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I don't want angry unsubscribes because everybody's just feeling overwhelmed. But
Right. Yeah.
regardless, most of the time I send daily emails. Sometimes I send two a day. What I want people to do with those emails, what I wish that I could express to people is I send themed emails. So like if you like, let me see, what have I sent out this month? I literally have my list right here. Pasta recipes, new recipes that we just published on the site, desserts,
Okay.
um, family recipes, some secret restaurant recipes, which that's always my most popular newsletter.
Yeah.
No bake desserts, ground beef recipes,
Oh.
budget friendly recipes, bacon recipes, quick crock pot recipes. I promise I'm almost done. And mouth watering pork chop recipes. What I want people to do, because I send themes of newsletters with like links to everything related to that. So like it
Right.
might be 10 pork chop recipes.
Yeah.
I want them to save those. And then as they are thinking to themselves, I want to make some pork chops tonight, they can go back to that newsletter and find the which one they want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to almost be like a resource for the reader. Obviously, going to the blog is a terrific way too, but this is me handpicking which ones I think would be the best for whatever circumstance.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think I reference newsletters. I go back to newsletters all the time for people that I subscribe to and
I do
use them
too.
as a tool. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm excited for you to take the course. I hope you take it really soon.
Yes.
Because right now is a terrific time of year to launch a newsletter.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. Well, and again, going back to the whole concept of people people are bombarded with information, with content
mhm,
constantly. And I
mhm.
feel like when it comes to social media, there is a semblance, or there's a feeling of control over what you're seeing, but it's
Yeah,
really it's really not. Like, yeah, you can control what you do and don't see, but also there's an outside factor of what
the
you are seeing
algorithm.
on your
Yeah,
social media. And that's another reason why I've removed social media from my phone. The only social media app, I think I told you before, I may have like even chopped it down further. Um, I have I've Reddit and LinkedIn on my phone,
yeah.
and that's it. I mean,
And
I
I think
have,
it's interesting that you did that and now you're signing up for newsletters. I think
yes,
that it's retraining your brain on focus. Because the other thing about a newsletter is they're longer.
they
They're more
are, yes.
specific usually. They're
Hmm.
more on topic. Um, it's hard to read now anything
Hmm.
long form more than a sentence or two.
Right.
So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think the reason that people who read have an advantage over people who don't is because they're training their brain to focus for longer periods of time.
Yeah.
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 We should go. I need to literally go for a walk before it starts raining again. Is it raining there?
It is overcast. I mean, it could be drizzling right now. I can't tell from where I'm sitting, but it's dark.
Well, I realized for the last 24 hours I've been checking the weather, but I wasn't checking it here. I was checking it there. And I think that's funny that I've
That
been
is
like
hilarious.
looking
Yeah,
at
when
your
you
weather
were
thinking
like,
it's mine.
it is going to be raining in your area this afternoon. And I was like, okay. It's because your weather app is still set for mine.
From when it was, yeah, when you had the snowpocalypse, I kept checking
Yep.
your weather.
Yep.
And yeah, it's funny.
That's really funny.
I thought so too. Okay,
Oh
guys.
man.
Listen, we didn't address anything societal, but my heart,
It's heavy.
yeah.
So is
And
mine.
yeah.
Yes.
And
I
I am so sad for everyone's loss last night.
Me too.
Yeah.
I it's been stressful with the whiplash,
Mhm.
and I know that we're not the only ones going through it.
Mhm.
Everybody else has some form of like bewilderment or whiplash too.
Yeah.
So we understand, and this is our distraction. This is
That's
our way
right.
of coping with like what's going on. So
We're
we
not cold-hearted
appreciate,
bitches ignoring it. We're just trying to
yes.
cope. Yeah.
Exactly. So we appreciate if you have taken the time to join us in this
Mhm.
distraction. We're happy to provide you a distraction. I feel like
Mhm.
we can be very entertaining. So
This is
uh,
true. This is true.
we're happy
Um,
to entertain and distract you.
that's right. That's right. And share a little information at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right.
Okay. Well,
Well,
bye
thanks
everybody.
everyone. We'll see you soon.
We will.